All the devotees. Uh, Today we are blessed to have, I've already mentioned, but anyway, I've mentioned to everyone, that Amal Krishna Prabhu and Sita, Sri Sita Devi Mataji from Delhi, and they're disciples of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami. They're visiting Australia for a few days, so we were fortunate to meet in the temple this morning. That they've come for a conference, and they'll be here till Tuesday. So we thought we'll bring them here and meet all the devotees and take them to some programs. So this is the Bhakti Shastri group. The more devotees are coming. Some are joining online with Mayapur TV. Some are, and most of these devotees also take the role of Bhakti Vriksha leaders. They lead the Bhakti Vrikshas. So they come and study Bhakti Shastri and they lead their own groups, study in other groups. So we have about 20-25 groups around Sydney. So there's growing. Yeah, there's a lot of devotees, but a lot more to be done. So please bless us that we can also. We can't. Delhi is number one in book distribution all over the world. They distribute books by trucks, not by boxes or car or truck. How many trucks will you take? Let's discuss at that level. So we have a long way to go, but still, with whatever we have, we do our sincere best. I want to introduce all the devotees because you can't remember all the names, but as you go along, we'll introduce you to the next person next to you, like that. And welcome. So we'll give them a big Hari Bol. Hari Bol! Yeah, thank you. So we start off by chanting Mangalcharan prayers. So let's please join us. We'll chant together. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Juta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishanvitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhasya Sindhubhya evacha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So last time we had completed chapter 12 and we did the quiz questions. Does anyone have any questions you want to discuss, or we are okay with that? No questions? Okay, we'll do chapter 13 then. 11. Okay. Quiz questions. Maybe we'll do that. Yeah, we can do that maybe next time, so that everyone comes prepared. Otherwise, I'll be just writing the answers, and they won't be making an attempt. So I think they should attempt to write the answers. So we'll let everyone know that that's the plan. Then they can make the time accordingly. Okay, so then we can start chapter 13 then. So the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita is the introduction, second is the summary, and 3, 4, 5 and 6 more or less they are covering Karma Yoga and a little bit of Gyan and Dhyan Yoga, chapter 6. The middle section we did 7 to 12, they are covering Bhakti Yoga, all about devotion service. So the first 6 chapters show us how we can approach Bhakti through karma. And this middle section is all about Bhakti. And the last section is going to show us how through Gyan, through knowledge also you come to Bhakti. But the end is always Bhakti. Now Bhagavad Gita is described as Yoga Shastra, authority on yoga. So when you say yoga, what does Krishna actually mean? Yeah, he means connection with the Lord, and he means Bhakti Yoga only. Sometimes it says Yoga Bhavati Arjuna, just become a yogi. It's not, he left it open to interpretation. But if you see the intent of the Bhagavad Gita, what is Krishna's intention? He actually always means that we become devotee. That's why 9th chapter we read, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskuru. Then Mame Vaishasya Yuktaevam Atmanam Matparayana. Very similar to what he says in 18th chapter, that you become my devotee. So that is Krishna's objective in the end. This morning I was hearing a lecture by Radhanath Maharaj before going to temple, and one devotee asked the question, why does Krishna describe all these other yoga processes? If Bhakti is the end game, why not just go straight to Bhakti? So Maharaj explained, of course he gave quite a detailed explanation, but the essential point he made was that Krishna is trying to engage everyone to come to Bhakti eventually. So these are different methods to get to Bhakti, but the end game is always Bhakti. Yoga means Bhakti. All other yoga systems are only useful if they lead to Bhakti. If they don't lead to Bhakti, they are incomplete. Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Dhyan Yoga, they are incomplete unless the end result is Bhakti. So now that we covered the Bhakti section, the most important section, now we're going to see the Gyan also, because many people think that Gyan is superior to Bhakti. Gyan is superior to everything. People have this knowledge, this concept in India at least, that Gyan is supreme. One who knows more is powerful. Knowledge is power. So the more you know, the more powerful you are. But actually you see that Bhakti is more powerful than Gyan. And even if one studies Gyan, if it doesn't lead to Bhakti, it is still incomplete. And even to succeed in Gyan, you need Bhakti anyway. So without Bhakti, you can't do anything. So after appreciating Bhakti, and also the other aspect that Bhagavatam mentions more explicitly, and here Bhagavad Gita also mentions, that from Bhakti, Gyan will come anyway. It's not that Bhakta is devoid of Gyan, even though one might be a scholar. One time Prabhupada said, philosophy is for fools. You don't need philosophy in the spiritual world. But we have philosophy here because we don't have faith. So philosophy is used to convince us Krishna is Bhagavan, Krishna is real, and that Bhakti is real. To convince us we use philosophy, but actually philosophy is not required. And Srila Prabhupada went on to explain that the gopis of Vrindavan, they had no deep philosophical understanding apparently, but they loved Krishna more than anything, more than themselves. So they are glorified as the greatest devotees. So ultimately you can see philosophy is only a method, a means to an end. To which sloka in Bhagavad Gita talks about that? Yeah, Ekamshan. Yeah, that's a good one. What is that verse? Atava Bahunaitena Vistapya Vidam Krishnam Ekamshena Sthito Jagat. What need is there for detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and maintain the entire creation. 10th chapter. Also 7th chapter it says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Saramiti Samadma Sudallabha. And Bhagavatam also says, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janantasya Vairagyam Jnanam Cha Yad Ahaitukam. Ahaitukam means automatically Jnana and Vairagya will come. Knowledge and renunciation will come as a result of bhakti. Of course, there are many verses. I'm just quoting a few that I know by heart, but there are many more verses which we can go into to explain this point. There you go. That's a very good one. So, 15th chapter also says that, right? Vedaischa sarver ahamaya Vedas. Purpose of all the Vedas is to know me. So that is the point that Krishna is trying to bring out. So when you read the analytical, physical, the philosophical side now, one may think, oh, it's too technical for me. Yeah, if you understood Krishna as Bhagavan, you don't need this knowledge actually. But then a devotee is blessed with knowledge anyway. It's not that devotee is ignorant. So when it comes to testing the bhakti, the gopis stand out. That's why Krishna sent even Uddhava to get lesson from the gopis. Even though Uddhava was the advisor of Krishna, Krishna used to ask him for advice. So he was supposed to be very knowledgeable. He was very knowledgeable. Even Krishna went to him for advice. But he sent Uddhava to Vrindavan with a message to the gopis so that he would learn what real bhakti is, what deep bhakti is, how great these devotees are, how exalted they are. And should not think they are village girls. They had so much bhakti for the Lord. So much so the Lord says, I have nothing to repay you for your bhakti, for your love and devotion giving me. The only repayment is your own service. You feel happy doing the service, that's it. I can't repay you. So here the Lord admits defeat. He admits that he is indebted to the love of the gopis. So this section, 13 to 17, and 18 of course the conclusion, is the wrap-up. So we shall study about the Gyan that Krishna is giving. So let's start off with chapter 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So chapter 13 is called Nature, the Enjoyer and Consciousness. Yeah. So Bhagavad Gita deals with 5 main topics. Which are the 5 topics? Karma, yes, one of them. Okay, then you can hear the song. Hare Krishna. So maybe, yeah, are children not here? These children haven't learned? Haven't heard, okay. Nice. Yeah. So this chapter covers of the 5 topics. What are the 5 topics again? To recap: Ishvara, Jiva, Kala, Prakriti, and Karma. So this one is covering nature. Nature is Prakriti. Ishvara is enjoyer. I answered the question I should ask. And consciousness is Jiva. So all 3 are covered in this chapter. And nature then, Prakriti, expands in chapter 14 into 3 modes of material nature. And then chapter 15 goes back to Purusha, Purushottama Yoga. And 16 talks of the 2 levels of consciousness, divine and demoniac. And 17 again comes to the modes of nature, how it influences one who is trying to follow the spiritual path. That is chapter 17, the divisions of faith. How under the modes one is trying to come out. And then chapter 18, of course, the conclusion. So chapter 13 sets the scene for the remaining 5 chapters. We can see that again Krishna is encapsulating Gyan in this chapter, and then he elaborates in the future chapters, more details. So now that Krishna has concluded that devotee is very dear to me in the end of chapter 12. So chapter 13, Arjuna now starts asking questions again. You have a question before the question. Yes.
If bhakti is the ultimate goal, why is it that Krishna is preaching bhakti before knowledge?
Yeah. Now I've heard different devotees explain different ways. Vimal Prabhu, you will have to. This is the microphone because you're on Mayapur TV.
They say the real thing is always in between, just like a sandwich.
Yeah.
You have upper things and the real thing, butter and all salad there inside. So that's why Krishna has kept it inside.
Yes.
So that it's Param Guhyam Gyano, so it is always inside.
Yes. That Prabhupada also mentions that it is because the most confidential knowledge is kept in the middle. That's one reason that's there.
So they both.
There's the microphone.
So both karma and jnana have to be touching bhakti, because they don't succeed without bhakti.
Okay.
So they are at both the ends, and bhakti is in the middle. But bhakti is independent.
Yeah.
So that's why it's in the middle, and the other two are touching bhakti.
Very good. Any other answers, Mataji? One more point to consider is that, of course, both of them have to end in bhakti. That's a fact. But also, the gyan that he is giving is not only theoretical knowledge; it's gyan that comes as a result of bhakti. When you have bhakti, devotion service, you appreciate the knowledge that comes as a result of bhakti is also bhakti actually. It's not different anyway. Because bhakti yoga is knowledge about Krishna. This knowledge is not something mundane here. But we could take this knowledge independent of Krishna and make it like one of the Shaddarshans, the 6 philosophical systems. That is Nyaya, Vaisheshika, all those, yoga. Those are not directly bhakti. They are all atheistic philosophies. Karma Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa, all these philosophies, Sankhya. Without bhakti, they can be taken. But for a devotee, because you already have knowledge of devotion service, you appreciate Krishna even from an analytical perspective. Please hold close to the microphone. Yeah.
That even today's lecture also Maharaj was mentioning this Gyan and Vairagya, they are the byproducts of bhakti. So anyway, if you do bhakti, they will automatically follow you. You don't have to make any other endeavors for it. It comes automatically.
That's
that
right.
might be the one of the reason that it is following.
Following that, yeah, it's showing that. In fact, so it's a very good point, because 18th chapter is perfection of renunciation anyway. So, Gyan and Vairagya. 13 to 17 is Gyan and 18 is Vairagya. Vairagya Vidya. So that is 18th chapter, perfection, the conclusion of perfection of renunciation. So that's a very good point as well. Yeah. So that's what supported by Bhagavatam. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayuta. Jananti Ashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chad Ahetukam. Janani means mother. So Bhakti is the mother of Jnana and Vairagya. She has 2 sons, Jnana and Vairagya. Good. Okay. So let's see what Arjuna is going to ask.
Sorry, Prabhu.
Yeah.
It's very silly, but my question is very silly. But what I was thinking was, why is karma first and knowledge last, or what is their order? Is there any particular?
From what I have heard, karma is introduced first because most people are on that level. The beginning is karma. Even in karma, Krishna describes karma kanda. He also describes karma yoga. And he also, of course, he has not come to vikarma yet. 16th chapter talks about vikarma, sinful activities, divine, demoniac qualities. But Krishna does talk about karma first because that's what most people can relate to. In fact, in the 2nd chapter, even talks karma kanda, karma mimamsa. Sorry, bro. Knowledge also he gives, of course. Knowledge of soul he gives in 2nd chapter. 2nd chapter has got everything because it's buddhi yoga, karma yoga. But also karma is there. Not only karma is also there. Karma mimamsa is there in the 2nd chapter. that the body is just made of chemicals. So death is nothing but change of chemicals. So why should you, even if you don't believe in soul, you should still fight, do your duty. Because nowadays atheists, they call themselves humanists. Humanist means people who are human beings who live by some ethics and principles, morals and principles. Be good to others, help each other, support each other, like that. There are some values as well, but it's not based on God. That's the problem. It's all based on humanity. So they're called humanists. So from their point of view, they don't believe in soul. But even he's saying, even if you're a humanist, it's still from the point of your duty, you should do it. As a social obligation, you should fight and establish justice. You can't establish injustice. So this is what Krishna is catering for, those different mentalities. Anyway, that's my understanding. Maybe different devotees will have much deeper realizations. You can ask Maharaj. You got a last chance tomorrow. Come to the class, the temple. Morning give Bhagavatam class. Tomorrow also is giving Bhagavatam class. And evening about Krishna conscious children. Today and tomorrow there's 2 seminars. So like that, if you want, you can talk to Maharaj and ask. And let us know what Maharaj says. I was happy to learn. Okay, let's start chapter 13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So if you want to read the first verse, we'll follow you one line at a time.
Arjuna Vacha.
Arjuna Vacha.
Prakritim Purusham Chaiva.
Prakritim Purusham Chaiva.
Kshetram Kshetragyam Evacha.
Kshetram Kshetrame Evacha.
Etam Vedintum Ichhami.
Etam Vedintum
Jnanam Geyam Cha Keshava.
Jnanam Jayam Cha Keshava.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Shri Bhagavanu Vacha.
Idam Shariram Konteya.
Idam Shariram Konteya.
Kshetram Itya Vidhiyate.
Kshetram Idam Vidhiyate.
Etadyo Veti Tam Prahu.
Ataveti Tattvahu.
Kshetragya iti Tadvita.
Tatabhini Tattvuta. Very good. So, translation.
Arjuna said, "O my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, and the field and the knower of the field, and of knowledge and of the object of knowledge." The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field."
Very good. Purport maybe you can read, we'll just share it around. Yeah.
Purport. Arjuna was inquisitive about Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer, Kshetra, the field, Kshetragya, its knower, and knowledge and the object of knowledge. When he inquired about all these, Krishna said that this body is called the field, and that one who knows this body is called the knower of the field. This body is the field of activity for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is entrapped in material existence, and he attempts to lord it over material nature. And so, according to his capacity to dominate material nature, he gets a field of activity. That field of activity is the body. And what is the body? The body is made of senses. The conditioned soul wants to enjoy sense gratification, and, according to his capacity to enjoy sense gratification, he is offered a body, or field of activity. Therefore the body is called Kshetra, or the field of activity for the conditioned soul. Now, the person who should not identify himself with the body is called Kshetragya, the knower of the field. It is not very difficult to understand the difference between the field and its knower, the body and the knower of the body. Any person can consider that from childhood to old age he undergoes so many changes of body, and yet is still one person, remaining. Thus there is a difference between the knower of the field of activities and the actual field of activities. A living conditioned soul can thus understand that he is different from the body. It is described in the beginning, Dehinosmin, that the living entity is within the body, and that the body is changing from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to youth, and from youth to old age, and the person who owns the body knows that the body is changing. The owner is distinctly kshetragya. Sometimes we think, I am happy, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a dog, I am a cat. These are the bodily designations of the knower, but the knower is different from the body. Although we may use many articles, our clothes, etc., we know that we are different from the things used. Similarly, we also understand by a little contemplation that we are different from the body. I or you or anyone else who owns the body is called kshetragya, the knower of the field of activities, and the body is called kshetra, the field of activities itself.
Okay, we'll stop there. So in this first paragraph of the purport, but before you go to the purport, first let us clear up how many questions has Arjuna asked in the first verse? 6 questions, very good. Good count. 6 questions Arjuna asked. I mean, this is such a wonderful way of asking question. Huh? This morning when devotee is asking question, he kept on and on and on going, beating around the bush, and Maharaj saying, alright, what's your question? He's still going. 3rd time, 4th time, finally got the question. But Arjuna is so concise, in one sentence he's asking 6 questions. So the next question is, what are the 6 questions? What do you see as 6 questions? Prakriti. He's asking what is Prakriti. In other words, what is material nature? Second question, Purusha. Who is the enjoyer of matter? Prakriti. And third is field of activities. What is Sanskrit word? Kshetra. So Prakriti, Purusha, then Kshetra, the field of activities, and next one is Kshetragya, the knower of the field, one who knows the field, who is experiencing the field of activities. And then the 5th question is, what is Gyan, knowledge, and object of knowledge. Gaya is Gyan, and Gneya is the object of knowledge. So 6 questions Arjuna asks in the very first verse, straight away. And Krishna answers which question does he answer in text 2? Yeah, the 3rd and the 4th question he answers. Kshetra and Kshetragya answers. Kshetra means the field, and Kshetragya means the knower of the field. Yeah. So that's the background to this 2 verses. So, Jitendra Prabhu, in the first paragraph of the purport, what does Srila Prabhupada point out? You just read.
That there's a distinction between the field of activities and its knower.
Right.
And that it isn't very difficult to tell the difference between them.
Yeah.
And also that it's easy because anyone can see that their field of activities changes throughout their life, whereas they still remain the same individual, indicating that they're the kshetragya who doesn't change.
Yeah. Get that. Used to go to answering machine, doesn't do that anymore. Pick it up, yeah. Yes, sorry, please carry on. Yeah, okay. Alright, so for whom is this knowledge given? Why is Krishna giving this knowledge? To whom is this knowledge? For whose benefit this knowledge is being given? Kshetra and Kshetragya. Yes, for us, for the conditioned souls. We are for our purpose, he is giving us this distinction between body and soul. Kshetra and Kshetragya. Okay. So, how does the living entity get involved with Prakriti? Not Prakriti, here is Kshetra. How does it get into the field? Yes, Srimali Prabhu?
Entity identifies himself with the body.
Okay. Now, why does he identify himself with the body? What purpose? Yes, he wants to lord it over material nature. He wants to lord it over nature. In other words, he thinks he is the Purusha. As long as he knows he is not the Purusha, he is free. The moment he thinks I am Purusha, he tries to lord it over material nature. He is given a field where he can prove himself. So every dog has its street where he can bark as much as he wants. Prabhupada says in one lecture, neighboring street, one dog comes and this dog goes, "Whoa, why are you coming to my street?" Then we thought Prabhupada is giving this dog example. No. Similarly, the immigration officers are barking. Why you come to our country? Go away. Don't have visa. He compared immigration officials to barking dogs. Only Prabhupada would have the guts to point it out. Don't come to this country. Why you come here? What is the purpose of visit? How long are you staying? When are you going away? You already come and they want you to go already. So this is because we think this is our field, Australia. We want to protect this country, so we can't let illegal immigrants come by the boats or ships, whatever other methods they used to come here. Because we identify with the kshetra, we think this is my country. So therefore, the first distinction that Krishna is trying to make here is between kshetra and kshetragya. That we are not the kshetra, the field, but we identify the field because we try to enjoy material nature. We try to enjoy the field. We think this is for us. And artificially we think we are free. But already in 3rd chapter Krishna has already explained. Prakriti kriyamanani sarvasah ahankar vimudhatma kartamiti manyan. Only because of ahankar we think we are the karta, we are the doer. But actually the activity is carried out by 3 modes of material nature. See, this is now going to set up, this chapter and the next chapter is going to cover that aspect. That we are actually bound by the modes of material nature. Our Acharya has given another very beautiful example to understand this. Just like an animal, it tied by a rope to a post, to a pole. Now within the radius of the rope, that animal thinks, I am free, I can do whatever I want. But then when it reaches the end of that rope, he realizes, can't go beyond this. Similarly, living entity gets trapped. If he wants to enjoy material nature, he is given the facility to enjoy. But there is a rope. There's always a... Mati, you don't have a book? You can get, there's one more copy is there. No, you can get, there are many copies. So there is always some freedom given. And but it's within the limit of the rope. Now, the freedom that's given to us within that radius, there we have a choice. And what is that choice? We have freedom. Not that we have no freedom. We have some freedom. But what is the limit of that freedom? And what is that freedom? What are we free to do? Are you free to? That's right. Our freedom is only to serve Krishna or serve Maya. That's all it is. Moment you choose not to serve Krishna, then we have to serve Maya. In other words, is it real freedom? No. So the only free will we have is to choose between Krishna and Maya. That's why Prabhupada used the word minute degree of independence. Must have heard this many times. Minute degree of independence. So what is the minute degree? We have to surrender Krishna or Maya. We are never independent. So Kshetragya gets caught up in the Kshetra when he decides not to serve Krishna. Then is trapped in the Kshetra, in the field. And Maya gives the illusion that yes, you are Purusha. That's the illusion, that you are the enjoyer. And you are free, you can do what you want, even though she ties him up. And depending on how they are tied, that much they realize they are free, or the limits of the freedom. So they're tied up in mode of ignorance, they have no idea at all. They think they're totally free. Mode of passion realize, yes, all my dreams are not getting fulfilled. There is some obstacles here. Mode of goodness person can see the ropes of illusion, Maya, more clearly, because mode of goodness is associated with knowledge. That's what this chapter is giving us now. To give you that knowledge, at least from the mode of goodness, during the mode of goodness, so one can recognize that I am actually tied up. I am not free. This kshetra is not for me to enjoy. I am not the enjoyer here. Then who is that enjoyer? That is going to come up as well in this chapter. Krishna is going to introduce that knowledge of who that enjoyer is, who the real Purusha is. So that we know, oh, he is the Purusha, I am not the Purusha. And the more I think I am the Purusha, the more you get bound tightly by the rope. The more one gets entangled in the kshetra. So you can see now how through Gyan also you are getting the gateway to Bhakti, right? Now Gyan is providing the gateway to Bhakti. So let's summarize again. How is Gyan providing the gateway to Bhakti? So we are here in the material world, we are trapped and we are suffering, right? So how does Gyan help you to get to Bhakti? By bringing one to the mode of goodness. Very good. By giving you knowledge, in other words, about the three modes, so you can get yourself out of the modes, come to the mode of goodness. What else does it do?
So Gyan, it is showing who the Lord is.
Very good. Who the real enjoyer is.
Yeah.
So the first realization, the mode of goodness you get is, I am not the enjoyer. Full stop. I am not the enjoyer. Therefore, then who is the enjoyer? So the next step is to introduce you to Purusha, who is the enjoyer. And then the step after that?
Then after we've come to know who the real enjoyer is, then we get to know what our position is and what we have to do.
And in other words, become a devotee. So you're back to Bhakti now. So now you come to Bhakti again. So now your question is getting answered more and more as we go through chapter. I only gave a short answer there because I thought it's already the chapter is there anyway, so I won't spend time on that. But you can see how that's leading up to. So we haven't covered that yet. It's not quite there in this purport, but I'm just extending it further so you realize how the flow of the chapter is going. So Krishna will talk about Paramatma in this chapter in more detail than he did in the previous chapters. What his role is and how he helps the living entity. How he's helping the living entity to come out of the kshetra, to come to understand who the real Purusha is. So now the next question is, we are here in this material world, we are in the field, okay, we got a kshetra, we're supposed to be kshetragya. Now how big your field is, what determines the amount of freedom you have, the degree of freedom. Yes, Jitendra, you read the purport, so tell us.
Well, one answer given in this purport is that one is awarded a field of activity according to one's capacity to dominate material nature.
Correct. That's correct. Very good. According to capacity to dominate material nature, one is given a particular type of body. Because remember, we come here to enjoy, separate from Krishna, right? So now we have to be given some facility for the enjoyment. And how much facility is given? A capacity according to the capacity, according to the karma, according to the previous karma, one is allocated a certain field. Now if by some good chance, Brahmanda Brahmite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasad Epaya Bhakti Lata Bij, by the mercy of a pure devotee, he realizes his mistake. Instead of trying to enjoy as much as possible, he tries to get out of the material world, use the same facility to get out of the material world. Then that person is intelligent. So, by good karma, as 6th chapter Krishna says, right, what is the fate of an unsuccessful yogi? Yeah. He says there are two types of unsuccessful yogis. What are two types of unsuccessful yogis? One who falls down after little practice, he falls down. Other one, extended practice, and then he falls down. So what's the difference between the two? What results do they get? Remember?
The one who falls down after a long practice, he gets his birth in an aristocratic family,
Yeah.
or a rich family where he is given a chance to continue from where he left.
Yeah. Or the one who falls down. Yeah, he's born in a family of transcendentalists. And Prabhupada very humbly says that he is in that category in the purport. I was fortunate to be born in a family of Vaishnavas. Which one did you say? Short. Did you say long period, did you say? Yeah, short period, yeah. Transcendentalist, yeah. Because you see, long period means he has been practicing for longer period, so he gets a chance to take up devotion service. He has become more eligible. Whereas one who's fallen down, in other words, Tasmad Yogi Bhava Arjuna says, in any case be a yogi. Even with short practice, you'll end up in an aristocratic family. What to speak of long practice? You'll end up in family of Vaishnavas, transcendentalists. So yeah, right. Thank you for that correction. Short families, short practice leads to. In other words, you want to be wealthy. It's not very difficult. That's the point. Don't have to Bill Gates for that. Don't have to struggle very hard. Just do a little practice of yoga, you become a very rich, aristocratic person. Next life, yeah. I want the cash now. Show me the bucks. Yes. So, but even in this lifetime, Prabhupada, you see, he had so much. He gave example that I gave up my family, I gave up my business, all my friends, relatives, gave up all of them. Then what happened? Krishna took everything away and then he gave back many times more. He says, earlier I had one house, now I got 108 homes. But what to do? I can't stay in any of them. I have been cursed. Even though I have 108 palaces to live in, I can't live in any of them more than 3 days or few days. Because the parents of the devotees have cursed me. I can't stay in one place. But anyway, he's just saying that, of course, making a different point, that devotee should always travel and preach and not stay in one place. But the point is, whatever Krishna took away, he gave back many times more, even in this lifetime. And of course, we have examples like Sudama and Brahmana and all that, who were even materially also very wealthy by the Lord in the same lifetime. So, what is the point again? What point? How do you get onto this one? We're talking about qualification. What is the size of the field you get? Right? What type of body you get? You get a particular type of body, and that determines your field. So there are 8.4 million species, 8.4 million different types of bodies, each having their own field. And also, so that's based on karma. The capacity to dominate material energy, and Prabhupada says capacity to enjoy sense gratification. One gets a particular type of body. So if I have a desire to sleep for 6 months, then you get a polar bear body. That's more suitable for that. Then there's ample opportunity to sleep. But as human beings sleeping for so many hours is not very good. This is the misuse of that. Okay, so we'll continue with the purport reading. Srimali
wants to stay nude, so they get all this tree body,
yes.
Throughout winters, throughout summers, you stay there like that.
Yeah, that's right. Very good. So like that, accordingly, nature awards a particular type of body. That is 15th chapter that's going to be covered. In that, just as the wind carries the aroma, similarly the consciousness of the living entity carries one to the next body. Krishna explains in the 15th chapter. So we shall read that later. Okay. So Srimali Prabhu, read the second paragraph, purport.
In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the knower of the body, the living entity, and the position of which he can understand the Supreme Lord are described. In the middle 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita, the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the relationship between the individual soul and the super soul in regard to devotional service are described. The superior position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the subordinate position of the individual soul are definitely defined in these chapters. The living entities are subordinate under all circumstances, but in their forgetfulness they are suffering. When enlightened by pious activities, they approach the Supreme Lord in different capacities, as the distressed, those in want of money, the inquisitive, and those in search of knowledge. That is also described. Now starting with the 13th chapter, how the living entity comes into contact with material nature, and how he is delivered by the Supreme Lord through the different methods of fruitive activities, cultivation of knowledge, and the discharge of devotional service are explained. Although the living entity is completely different from the material body, he somehow becomes related. That is also explained.
Very good. So this we already covered this point about the divisions of the 6 chapters and how they are laid out. So in summary, first 6 chapters are describing the knower of the body and the position which he can understand the Supreme Lord, how he can understand the Supreme Lord. And the middle 6 chapters discuss the Supreme Lord and the Jiva, the soul and the super soul. And it describes that Krishna is the master and we are the servant. And the 7th chapter talked about the 4 kinds of pious people who approach the Lord as well, and 4 types that don't approach the Lord, who find very difficult to approach the Lord. And now, because we're talking material nature, it's describing how the Jiva is trapped in the material nature, in the field. The Kshetragya gets trapped in the Kshetra because of his forgetfulness of Krishna. And how the Lord gives the facility to come out again, how to come extricate himself. So not only Krishna puts us in the jail, but he also tells us how to get out of the jail. And he sends all the help also. And that's what the knowledge is. Escape route. Dhamma Maharaj wrote that book, right? Perfect escape. Perfect escape. Yeah, how to get out of this place. Okay, so we'll go to the 3rd verse. Nagank, you can lead the chanting. Use the microphone.
Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi
Kshetrapi mapapimapiti
sarva kshetreshu bharata
Kshetreshu bharata
kshetra kshetrajñayor jnanam
Kshetrasvitamyanam
yattaj jnanam matam mama.
Adyanam matatmana.
O Scion of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion.
Okay. So which questions are answered here? The Kshetragya. And also knowledge. What is definition of knowledge? He's going to preliminary definition of knowledge. He's going to explain more in the later verses what is knowledge. But he has given a preliminary. He gives the opportunity for the Gyanis to speculate as well. He has to cater for their needs. So that even the 6th chapter end, you see, he says at the very end, what does he say? Yeah. Yoginapi sarvesham. I heard someone chanting the verse. Yoginapi sarvesham. Shraddhavan bhajate yomam samayuktattamata. The one who does Shraddhavan bhajate mam, devotee, is the topmost of all the yogis. So Krishna does give opportunity for the Jnanis to exercise their speculative powers. Ultimately Krishna is father for everyone. So he has to cater for Jnanis as well. And this also shows that Krishna gives that independence. He doesn't force us to accept this knowledge. Sanjali, you want this cushion? This cushion you can give. You can use that if you want. Back pain. Yeah. Sitting on the hard floor can be difficult sometimes. We're not used to it. You've got back pain. So that's why Krishna gives that opportunity for opinion. But then Other places he doesn't give that opinion. He is very straight. In fact, he is so straight that he asks Arjuna to say it. Kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashrati. He makes Arjuna say it. So it's like double guarantee. Krishna's guarantee is there, but when Arjuna gives a guarantee, it's like double. Declare it boldly, O son of Kunti, my devotee never perishes. There is no compromise there, saying, oh, that is my opinion. No, that's not opinion. That's very emphatic. So there are places when Krishna is very emphatic, and there are places where he leaves it open for other yogis to interpret. And that is also there to confuse the atheists, to bewilder the atheists. See, Buddha came to preach Buddhism, to bewilder the atheists. He had a purpose, so that they would populate the earth. Because when there's no spiritual knowledge, what to do then? Stay at home and have a big family. That's the only purpose of life. It doesn't seem to anything, because everything is void anyway. Everything is zero. It'll all end in zero. So might as well make the most of it. Try to enjoy the kshetra as much as you can within the kshetra to the maximum enjoyment. And that's the hedonistic philosophy. Enjoy while you can. Tomorrow, we don't know what tomorrow will bring. And there's so many songs on that. No? So I heard some Maharaj quoting one song. Yeah, that's Charvaka. Charvak Muni has given that. Beg, borrow, steal, get some ghee and enjoy. That's completely atheistic. So that's what they end up doing. That's why this Buddha avatar has come. So after that, Shankaracharya had to come and chase all the Buddhists out of India. He did pretty good job. So they ended up in Burma and Nepal also. You have many Buddhists. Nepal, Bhutan, yeah, Burma and all. Tibet, of course, is there. So he chased them out of India. That's why they're all concentrated. Even Japan they went up to. They had to run away from Shankaracharya. He was so strong. He chased them all out of India. Some of them ended up in Kashmir also. There's some China of course, yeah. Sri Lanka also, yes. You can see they really are surrounding India, but they're not in India, not quite there. He really chased them out. That's why he established 4 mathas, Shankar Math.
Prof, I have a question.
Yeah.
If Shankaracharya has to get away those Buddhists, why did it only that they moved away from India, didn't move away from the entire world or entire universe? Like, because the God himself, he want to defeat the philosophy of that. That's the reason Shankaracharya took birth. Why only from India?
India, what we know today, no? Those days India was different. Those days India was different. Even 1,000 years ago, when Shankaracharya came, about 1,000 years ago, still India was much bigger than what it is today. What is left now is embarrassing, small little thing, compared to what it was before. But he chased them as far away as possible. That if the 4 mathas he established, right? Based on the 4 mathas, the influence of that preaching was that the Buddhists were driven out of the country. Then again, among the followers of the Vedas also, those who are atheistic, he gave them the impersonal philosophy. So they also get bewildered, which is another form of Buddhism only. But at least he brought back the Vedas. And he didn't bring back the animal killing, which was prevalent before Buddha came. The killing of innocent animals, that was stopped, sacrifice. He didn't encourage that. So that way at least he brought back the Vedas on the mode of goodness and impersonal level, so that Ramanujacharya could come and bring in the Vaishnava philosophy there. Then the Vaishnavism is brought after that, because Vedas are back now. People have got back to studying the Vedas. Otherwise, Buddhists had rejected all the Vedas. Buddhists also reject Supreme Personality Godhead. Ishvara is completely rejected. There is no Ishvara. Ishvara is also void. Everything is void. So they do not accept any form of absolute truth. Whereas Shankaracharya accepted one form of absolute truth, and that is Brahman. That's Brahman. That's why it's called Advaita. Because he accepted one aspect. Buddha accepted there's no truth at all. And nothing, absolute truth is void. There's no truth. But Shankaracharya accepted one aspect, that is Brahman. Brahman Satya, Jagan Mithya. So he got that level. Then Ramanujacharya brought back the Vaishnava philosophy, then built it on that. So those among who are faithful, they followed Ramanujacharya and they became very great devotees. So he converted so many Mayavadis and Brahmavadis into great Vaishnavas. They became devotees. He defeated them and he established Vaishnavism. Then all the temples that were neglected because of Buddhist influence and Shankaracharya influence, because according to Shankaracharya's teachings, they see the deity as idol and stone, and they don't think it's just a temporary means to get to Brahman. So they were not very interested in deity worship because they thought it's a stone anyway, what's the point? If we don't make an offering today, no one's going to complain. It's all right. So the standard has slipped a lot. So Ramanujacharya especially came to re-establish the deity worship. So God is a person, deity is a person. It's not a piece of stone or metal, but actually there is the Lord Himself. So Archa Vigraha, that was brought back by Ramanujacharya, and Madhvacharya further took it up. And when there was confusion among the different sampradayas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and reconciled everything, put it all together. Without contradicting the acharyas, he explained the apparent contradictions and reconciled the whole philosophy by teaching Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva. That's how historically the knowledge has been given. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he met all the acharyas and he told them what they should preach, how much they should preach. And the final Achintya Bheda Bheda Tattva, he said, I am going to present that. Even though the acharyas knew that, they didn't present it. He said, you won't be able to explain it. I have to do this myself. So Mahaprabhu himself came and explained that and established it. So that's why Mahaprabhu's teaching now gives us an opportunity to unite all the sampradayas, to bring them all together under one banner. So in other words, if one joins ISKCON, one actually gets the facility to still continue the teachings of the acharya in a more productive way, in a more broad global way, and not give up the sampradaya. They still have the opportunity to carry Vishishta Dvaita or Dvaita, whatever they're following. They can still continue with that, but take it to the next level up, to bring it to pure devotion service. What Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave, and that is my process of Sankirtan. All the acharyas, Alvars, they all said you should chant and dance in Kirtan, but no one is doing it. Now they're admitting, yes, in ISKCON, you people are really doing it. What was taught by our acharyas, you are actually doing it now. So naturally those devotees, they're saying, this is the dream of the acharyas actually, to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. That was the dream of all the acharyas. Shankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Ramanujacharya, all acharyas wanted that. And Srila Prabhupada fulfilled that dream. So now even Vishwa Hindu Parishad is recognizing it. And they are saying the friends of Vishwa Hindu Parishad, ISKCON has come under the friends of Vishwa Hindu Parishad. Because they are preaching Sanatana Dharma all over the world. So they're realizing we have got allies here. Because otherwise, you see, India is besieged by people trying to convert them and to destroy Hinduism. Whereas ISKCON is actually taking the Vedic knowledge to the next level up, where people from other religions are joining us now and becoming Vaishnavas. And Vaishnava is transcendental to Hindu, Muslim, Christian. So now they're appreciating Prabhupada's work more and more. That if it wasn't for Prabhupada, we would be just marooned to one country, and in that country also, the population of Hindus is reducing like anything. And outside India, it's hardly there. If ISKCON wasn't there, what would we do? If Prabhupada wasn't there to take Krishna consciousness across the globe, we would be in a very sorry state. Is it lagging or is it coming all right? Bit lagging. Eh? Now 2 weeks Test has promised me a dedicated line. 2 weeks more to wait. Not that bad. Yeah. A few seconds is alright. It's not bad. Yeah. One time it gone down to half an hour. It's very bad. If I say Hare Krishna now, he'll come after half an hour. 45 minutes. Oh my God. End of story. Are there many devotees online? 7, yeah. Once the Chika is running late, so she had her Mac online. Not missed anything. Okay. So we'll now go to the purport. Next So this actually no, before you go to purport, because sometimes we read the purport, you get lost where we are. So this is touching on which aspect of the 6 questions? Kshetragya, knower of the field, and knowledge. And it's also touching on one more thing. Kshetra is there? Yes. There are 2 knowers of the field. Prabhupada explained the purport anyway. So there are 2 knowers of the field. It is touching on Purusha as well. A little bit on Purusha, but mainly it's Prakriti and knowledge. Yes, knower of all bodies. That's right. That I am the knower in all bodies. That's why that is Paramatma. So who is that person who is there in all the bodies? And what is this body? And who is the knower of this body? Who are the 2 knowers of the body is called knowledge. Okay, I'll read the purport then.
Hare Krishna. While discussing the subject of the body and the knower of the body, the soul and the super soul, we shall find 3 different topics of study. The Lord, the living entity, and matter. In every field of activities,
it is working.
In every field of activities, in every body, there are 2 souls, the individual soul and the super soul. Because the super soul is the plenary expansion of Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna says, I am also the knower, but I am not the individual knower of the body. I am the super knower. I am present in every body as the Paramatma or super soul. One who studies the subject matter of the field of activity and the knower of the field very minutely, in terms of this Bhagavad Gita, can attain to knowledge. The Lord says, I am the knower of the field of activities in every individual body. The individual may be the knower of his own body, but he is not in knowledge of other bodies. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present as a super soul in all bodies, knows everything about all bodies. He knows all the different bodies of all the various species of life. A citizen may know everything about his patch of land, but the king knows not only his palace, but all the properties possessed by the individual citizens. Similarly, one may be the proprietor of the body individually, but the Supreme Lord is the proprietor of all bodies. The king is the original proprietor of the kingdom, and the citizen is the secondary proprietor. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the supreme proprietor of all bodies.
Okay, we'll stop there. So in this 3 paragraphs you read, what is Srila Prabhupada describing to us here? Yes, Mrigan can speak here.
The difference between the soul and the super soul. So although the soul might be the knower of his own body, the super soul is the knower of all bodies.
Yes, very good. Very good. What other differences are there? Yes, I can see hand. I don't know whose hand is there. Oh, Dharmati, yeah. You're stuck under the seat. I think there's so much space here, and we've got someone. Oh, you want a back support? Okay.
Hare Krishna. Here, Prabhupada also says that we know only our body.
Yeah.
The super soul knows everyone's body. So it reminds me of the first shloka of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where our consciousness is only limited and the Lord's consciousness is unlimited.
Very good.
So.
Very nice. Thank you.
It's continuing what Charudeshna Mataji just said. That word is abhignya. The one who knows about everything everywhere. The one who knows everything. And this knower of the body and the Paramatma and the Atma, I think it's in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, no? The two birds sitting on the tree. So for that also we made up a song for the children.
Mundaka Upanishad.
Mundaka Upanishad?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so for that we made up a song for the children to remember and understand. There are two birds sitting on a tree. One is eating, the other bird is free. Krishna is the free bird, the eating bird is me. When I look at Krishna, I'm filled with glee. So that they can remember. And is it from the Mundaka Upanishad or Shvetashvatara Upanishad? I thought it was Shvetashvatara.
Yeah, maybe it's Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Yeah, some of the older Bhagavad Gitas had a different. First, when I remember first started Krishna consciousness, I was told it's Mundaka Upanishad, but maybe I could be wrong.
Nitya Nityanam is also.
That is Katha Upanishad, yeah.
Yeah,
that
but
it's also the similar thing, yeah. That's a good point. So this purport, this part of the purport, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing that even though we both described as knower of the field, who are the two knowers of the field? The Kshetragya or the soul and Purusha, super soul. But there are some distinct differences. And the first difference is that the super soul is knower of all fields, whereas we are knower of our limited field. What other difference does he mention there? Yes, Charadishna Mataji?
Elaborating on the same point. Srila Prabhupada in one of his lectures gives such a beautiful example. He says, I am sitting here giving the lecture and I know what's going on in my mind, but I do not know what's going on in all your minds.
Yes.
But the Lord knows what's going on in my mind, whether I'm liking this, whether I'm finding fault with you. I mean, he's being humble, he's just being nice. But he knows what is going in your mind as well.
Yeah.
And when I say I know what's in my mind, I only know that when prasadam or what's going on in me, within me, when a plate of prasadam comes in front of me, I know it tastes good or it doesn't taste good. It fills my tummy or it doesn't fill my tummy. So from the tongue to the tummy, what happens in between, I'm unaware of. That is how much I know about myself. So even that knowledge is so limited.
Very good. Yeah. We think we know our field, but even that knowledge is limited. Yeah, very true. Yes, Megan Prabhu.
It says the Lord is the primary proprietor and the knower is the secondary.
Very good. Very good point. Excellent. What other difference are pointed out between soul and super soul? Anything else you can pick up? Yeah, the example is given of the farmer who owns one piece of land. He is only aware of his land, but the king knows about all the lands, including his palace and everything else. True. Yeah, please, Rachika.
It's written here that he is the original controller of the senses.
Ah, very good.
So, but
very
we think that we are the controller and we are doing everything.
Yeah.
But he is originally
very
controlling
good.
everything.
He is the original controller. We are the secondary controllers. Very good. And lower and subordinate. And he also makes the point that we are fallible and he is infallible. Okay. Any other points? So then we can quote the Katha Upanishad, Nitya Nityanam, Chetana Chetananam. That brings out the similarities also. What are similarities between the soul and super soul? Janardhan Prabhu? You can give the microphone to Janardhan.
I remember in one of the lectures of Prabhupada, he says that we are Anu and the Lord is Vibhu.
Correct. Very good. Yes. Yes, quantity and quality. Quantity we are minute, and in quality he is great. So Nitya Nityanam means we are eternal, he is eternal. And Chetana's Chetananam. What does Chetana mean? Consciousness. He is also conscious, we are also conscious. But what is the difference? Eko Bahunam Yavidhati Kaman. That means one person, one supreme conscious maintains all the individual conscious beings. So we are limited. Okay. Alright, so we read the next paragraph. Sentence already read. Sri Sita Mataji, you want to read the next paragraph of the purport?
The body consists of the senses. The Supreme Lord is Rishikesha, which means the controller of the senses. He is the original controller of the senses, just as the king is the original controller of all the activities of the state. The citizens are secondary controllers. The Lord says, I am also the knower. This means that he is the super knower. The individual soul knows that only his particular body. In the Vedic literature, it is stated as follows: Kshetrani hi sharirani bijam kapi shubha shubhe tani veti sa yogatma tata kshetra gya uchyate. This body is called the Kshetra, and within it dwells the honor of the body and the Supreme Lord, who knows both the body and the honor of the body. Therefore he is called the knower of all fields. The distinction between the fields of activity, the knower of activities, and the supreme knower of the activities is described as above. Perfect knowledge of the constitution of the body, the constitution of the individual soul, and the constitution of the super soul is known in terms of Vedic literature as Jnana. This is the opinion of Krishna. To understand both the super soul and the super soul as one yet distinct is knowledge. One who does not understand the field of activity and the knower of activity is not in perfect knowledge. One has to understand the position of Prakriti, nature, Purusha, the enjoyer of nature, and Ishvara, the knower who dominates and controls nature and the individual soul. One should not confuse the three in their different capacities. One should not confuse the painter, the painting, and the vessel. This material world, which is the field of activities, is nature, and the enjoyer of the nature is the living entity, and the above them both is the supreme controller, the personality of Godhead. It is stated in the Vedic language in the Svetashvara Upanishad 1.12, Bhokta Bhogyam Pretitaram Cha Matva Sarvam Proktam Trividham Brahman Etat. There are three Brahman conceptions. Prakriti is Brahman as the field of activities. Jiva, individual soul, is also Brahman and is trying to control material nature, and the controller of both of them is the Brahman, but he is the factual controller.
Okay, so what's your... Stop there and discuss. What are the points Srila Prabhupada is making in this paragraph? Can please hold up closer to the mic. It's on.
Okay. So there is Prakriti, Purusha, and Ishvara.
Very good.
Prakriti is nature, Purusha is enjoyer of nature, and Ishvara, he was above both of them.
Both of them.
So
correct.
this is the real knowledge.
Very good. To distinguish between all three aspects. So that's why Vaishnavism is more complete, because it recognizes all the energies of the Lord. Shankaracharya accepted only Brahman Satya, but Vaishnava philosophy accepts Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, and also accepts the difference between Jiva and Paramatma, between Atma and Paramatma. It distinguishes between them. They are one, but they are also different, simultaneously one and different. So that is why it is complete, because it recognizes all aspects of the Lord. Even material nature doesn't say it's false. Brahman Satya Jagan Mithya is what Shankaracharya said. But what do the Vaishnavas have to say about that? What's the Vaishnava Siddhanta? Yes, the Prakriti is real and temporary, it's not false. How can Prakriti be false? Because that means Krishna is false. Prakriti comes from Krishna. He is the source of Prakriti, so he is real, so Prakriti has to be real. If Brahman is real, then Prakriti is also real. But the difference is Prakriti is always changing, because it's changing, it's temporary. Therefore it appears to be unreal. But actually it is real. Central.
Just remember another example.
Mm.
In an office environment,
Mm.
we know only what is our duties, but the CEO or our manager knows what are the other team members knows.
Yes.
And like we are like an employee and his employer kind of thing. We are maintained by them.
Yes, very good. Very good. That's a good example. Yeah. So this distinction is not made clear. Because distinction not made clear, and because you have tendency to be the Purusha, it is very difficult to understand this. And therefore this has caused a major deviation in the teaching. Completely Vaishnavism and Mayavad or impersonalism are on different tracks because of this failure to make the distinction. And even if they make the distinction, the Mayavadis say that it is all Svabhavika. It's all just temporary. You distinguish between God and you only because it's temporary, because you are an illusion. Once the illusion is removed, you'll realize you are God. And they give the example of the pot. In a pot is there, empty pot, it's got air inside. Once the pot breaks, what happens? The air inside merges with the air outside. So similarly, the jiva, when he gets liberated, he will become Paramatma. He'll become Super Soul. Sounds very logical, isn't it? It's horrible. That's right. So Mrigang, what is a pain point for you there? Why are devotees pained to hear this? And what is wrong with that logic? Just use the microphone.
It would be correct logic if the air started off inside the pot first, and then if the pot breaks, the air would merge with the air outside. But when you made the pot, that the air got in there in the first place. It's not like it's there from the start. So
very good.
If you were God to start off with, and then if you broke the shackles and merged with the other gods, then that's fine. But you weren't God to start off with. So how can you become God?
But they'll say that's your opinion. That's what you think. You're an illusion. You don't know. Sorry, I'm just playing the devil's advocate here. We don't like to hear this as much as anybody else. But where is the flaw in that argument? Prabhupada defeats the philosophy in one sentence. Just one sentence. Yes, Charudeshna Mataji?
If the energetic is controlled by his energies, then there is no Lord. God cannot be there because...
Yeah. There is no Supreme.
There's no Supreme.
There's no Supreme. Okay. That's a good point. But you won't defeat them with that. Ruchika?
True, as I say that the individuality is retained even after our death. So in that case, our consciousness is not like a air in the pot which will merge with the Supreme Consciousness. So
very good. Yeah. You are very close to the answer. Can you rephrase your sentence again?
True. So I was saying that the individuality will be retained even after our death. And so after our death, even though the body is compared to the pot, we die, but our soul takes up the new body. It's not like the air in the pot which will merge with the Supreme Consciousness or the air or the surrounding air after the body is perished.
Very good. Very good. Very nice. Janardhan Prabhu, you got the point? But Prabhupada said so elegantly in one sentence. I'll come to that. You'll see how Prabhupada is so straight and so powerful.
Prabhu, the Supreme Air maintains all the airs. So how can this air become the Supreme Air? So this is subordinate to the Supreme Air.
But you can't distinguish the air in the pot and air outside. What's the distinction?
So it's like
how will you distinguish the air inside and outside?
Because the air...
If you got pickle in the jar, you get pickle air.
the air outside is vast.
Yeah.
So.
But the air inside has no form either. Just because the pot is there, the air has taken some shape. That's their argument. Sounds pretty convincing. If I had heard it first time, I would have said, "Oh, makes sense." Source of the air, yes. Okay, that's one thing to think about. Chaudhary Mataji, got a hand up?
If the soul and super soul were one, then it's like Krishna is clearly distinguishing between them, and we are he'll be proving himself wrong if he would be contradicting himself.
He'll be contradicting himself. Natpayam jatu nasham, nattam neme janadipa, nachaya bhavishyama, sarva atam param. Never was there a time when I don't exist, nor you, nor all the kings assembled here. Nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. That's the answer Krishna has given in the Bhagavad Gita. But come back to the pot example. How do you defeat the pot example? You can quote that Shastra. That's a very good verse to quote, and they can't deny that. The individuality is maintained before and after. But now come to the pot example. Jitendra has got an answer. He's withdrawn. Sumedha, you want to say something? There's a microphone here. I'm going to turn to you, Amal, for help.
I don't know if this is right, but we can argue saying that if the air can be confined to a small pot, then it's not supreme. Then there needs to be something beyond that.
Okay, some food for thought. Jitendra, got the courage, yes.
Did Prabhupada actually address that air example, or just Mayavadism in general?
No, Prabhupada addressed that because Mayavada is using that to prove the philosophy. Prabhupada, in the Bhagavatam 12th canto, it's there. Ghatakash and Patakash, it's called. Ghatakash, Ghata Akash. The Akasha in the Ghata is the Ghatakash. And Patakash is the Akash outside the pot. They call it Ghatakash, Patakash philosophy. It's known in Mayavadis because it's their strong suit, it's their strong, what should I say? It's their big presentation. Yeah. So Prabhupada defeats philosophy in very one simple way. He says, first of all, we are not the pot. That's it. He says the analogy is not valid, full stop. You can only have analogy when there are more points in common. When there are no points in common, that is a bogus analogy. Forget it. Prabhupada didn't say the exact word, but he just said one sentence. First of all, you're not the pot. Okay. So, the pot and the air are both field of activities. The jiva is not there at all. So, there's nothing to compare. Jitendra, yes, and then Mrigank, just a few seconds after him. Alright.
But Mayavadis aren't saying that they're the pot. Aren't they saying that they're the air within the pot, which merges with the air outside?
But that's true. But what I'm trying to say is the pot and the air are all part of the kshetra. There is no kshetragya there. Neither the pot nor the air. We're not any of that. What they're saying is that because the air in the pot takes the shape of the pot, therefore you feel you have a body. But actually you don't belong to anything. You are the air. So Prabhupada says we're neither the air nor the pot. We don't analogy just doesn't hold. Huh? No, we are not. Why are you saying you are the air? Yeah, but that is not in this analogy. This analogy is bogus. That's my point. You see, the analogy they're using, the example they're using is invalid because this structure doesn't fit into the description of the kshetra and kshetragya. Because we're neither the pot nor the air. They're comparing the pot to the body. Okay, Mayavada comparing the pot to the body. It's got a form because you are in that. Okay, the moment you come out of that, then there's no air. But actually, the air has form because the pot is there, appears to have. But that is all. That is the prakriti. That's the field. That's prakriti. We are not prakriti. We are not the pot either. No. That's what I'm saying. That is not the point. Point is the analogy itself is not valid. You cannot use the pot and air analogy to explain Jiva and Paramatma, or Jiva and Prakriti. They're trying to explain that Jiva and Atma and Paramatma are the same, and Prakriti is the air. The moment that disintegration happens of the Atma, then you become part of the whole thing, supreme. There is no distinction. As long as the air is held in the pot, it looks like Atma. As long as that body is removed, it becomes Paramatma. That is the point. But Prabhupada is saying we're not the part anyway. The body is not us. Yeah, but we're not the air either. No, but that's what I'm saying. The analogy is not valid. No, I'm trying to say analogy itself is not valid. You can't use analogy of something that has got to use an analogy. The rules are in grammar or in this thing what you call bhashyas, different philosophies, commentaries. There has to be maximum points of similarity. If there is no similarity, you can't compare something to something and say there cow has a horn and monkey has a tail and a tree has leaves, therefore trees have tails. Something ridiculous. There's no logic behind. I can say anything, right? It does not make any sense because we are comparing things which are no points of comparison. There's no similarities between them. Rigang, speak on the mic. So it'll be.
It's not a valid analogy because we can't be the air or we can't be the pot, but because they're saying the air inside the pot is the same as the air outside. Is that why it's not valid?
But even in any case, see, the point I'm trying to make is the jiva has a distinct existence apart from the air in the pot. Something different. The akasha, the sky, is the field. And a pot is also a transformation of the same field. The field is earth, water, fire, air, ether. The air is one transformation of the field, kshetra. The pot is another transformation of the same field. So this analogy does not establish anything. It cannot be used to explain jiva and prakriti. It's not a valid analogy to start with. Yes, bro. Wait. We'll come to that. Amal Prabhu speaking now, and then I'll come to that. Yeah.
So I think why this analogy is not correct, maybe because like Prabhupada has mentioned in one shloka in 2.29. So that's called amazing shloka, Ashcharya shloka. So what Prabhupada tells is, like Krishna first explained what is Ashcharya, what is amazing in this. The same soul, it is when it takes a body of a human being, so it is there, it gives consciousness to that body. Even when the same soul goes to an ant body, it gives consciousness to that ant body. And when it goes to a maybe elephant body, so the entire body is conscious. So the soul is the same, with the same minute whatever size of the soul is, and it gives consciousness to the entire body. Just like we have this room, and we have maybe 5 lights here, so it gives consciousness to this room. But if we take all these 5 lights to a bigger room, there will be less lights, and maybe to a smaller room, the intensity will increase. So this is very amazing in that sense. The soul is same, it goes to different things. So now coming back to this example of a pot and all. So we have air in that pot. So if you take the same air in a bigger pot, it will not have same consciousness. It will not have the effect on the entire surroundings. So if you bring that small air in this big room, so the entire room will not be filled. So in that way the analogy is not correct. Because whenever the soul goes to a particular body, it gives consciousness to the entire body, whatever the volume it may be. So in that way it might be.
Yeah, but even then the air is not conscious anyway. So and the pot is also not conscious. So that's all matter. No? Where is the jiva in all of that?
That's taking it way too literally. They're not saying that the air exactly is the soul.
But what I'm trying to say is that individuality they're saying is because the pot is there. As soon as the pot is removed, the individuality is gone. That's what they're saying. So what Prabhupada is saying is that first of all, you're not the pot even. We're not even the pot. There's no jiva mentioned there at all. Even though they're claiming that the air inside is the jiva, that is not a valid assumption even in that example. That's why the whole point is the analogy itself is not valid. They're using a wrong analogy to prove something else. Like saying that to prove that a tree has horns, a tree has a tail. You can't say that. It is not at all logical. This is used in the logic field, in the Nyaya field. They argue that this cow has a horn, therefore horses have horns or something. Horse doesn't have a horn. It doesn't. That's the first statement. Cow has a horn, and therefore horses also got horns. It doesn't make sense because we are talking about cow suddenly switching to horse. So that's the whole point. The analogy, the elements used in the analogy are not valid because there are no points of similarity there. There's no consciousness in any of this. They are all simply transformation of the field. So that's the point that Prabhupada used to say this is not a valid. Janardhan, you want to say something? Yeah. Give him the microphone. Yeah, just give him the microphone.
Takes me back to the first point, how we came to this analogy and what we are trying to relate to. Like, are we trying to relate the pot to the body and the air to the soul or something? Or
no,
what is it that we are trying to relate the analogy to?
The analogy is to understand that there is supreme and there is individual soul. Okay. Now the Mayavadi is saying the air within the pot is the individual soul.
Yes.
And when the pot disintegrates, it merges with the supreme soul outside. The air outside the pot is like supreme, Brahman, and the air within the pot is the Jiva. When the pot breaks, the body dies, you get liberated, the air inside will merge with the air outside. Similarly, Jiva will merge with the Paramatma and become one, become Paramatma, become God. You all become God. When you're liberated, you become God. That's the whole point they're trying to establish. So to establish the point, it looks like their analogy seems to work. Seems to...
Oh, sorry. But then that defeats the argument that there is the soul and the soul takes different bodies, because in that case every living entity is a pot, and every living entity has got air in it, which is the soul.
Correct.
And so whenever all the living entities die, it immediately merges with the
pot has to break. So liberation there, for their example, liberation means the pot breaks.
So it doesn't mean that the body is breaking. It means that whenever the person...
The pot is the body in their analogy.
So that means there's no rebirth.
No. So, okay. What they are saying is that you go from one pot to another pot depending on your karma. If you got a good karma, you get a big pot. You get a small karma, you get a little pot. Okay, and you stay in the pot, the one pot breaks, you go to another pot. Another pot. Then finally you really get liberated, you break from pot, you come out, ooh, I'm free. I'm liberated now. That's the analogy. Okay, Ruchika had a hand up, then Rashid Priya also. Yeah.
Prabhu, this analogy is also not valid because we are comparing a living entity to a non-living thing?
Exactly, that's the point. That's the Prabhupada's whole argument. He said
so under the influence of the consciousness of the soul, the body acts, but it's not valid in the case of a pot.
Correct. So that's what I'm saying. There are no similarities, therefore it's not a valid. We don't accept this example. It doesn't prove anything. And that's why, test of prayer proof. Okay. Yeah.
So there is another analysis where we have used the quality of the salt water in the ocean, okay, where we are telling the drop of water has got the same quality of a ocean, but that does not mean that drop of water is equivalent to ocean.
Correct.
So there also we are considering certain things which is also a matter. Okay, then how we are going to prove there? Okay.
So you are saying we are not the ocean. See, there the similarity is, or the similarity analogy is being used because there is a quality, qualitatively is being described, and quantity is being described. So they're not talking about consciousness there. When you talk of conscious, here is talking about consciousness, and none of these are conscious. Neither the pot nor the air are conscious. So they are all simply different manifestation of the kshetra, field. The big pot is big kshetra, small pot is small kshetra. So it's all manifestation of Prakriti ultimately, transformation of Prakriti. Same Prakriti, Panchabhutas, earth, water, fire, air, ether, they are getting transformed to form the pot and the air. There is no consciousness in any of this. Whereas the ocean and the drop of water, we are not talking about consciousness, they are talking about the quantity and the quality. The quality is same, but quantity is different. So in that analogy does not require the need for consciousness. Where this analogy requires the need for consciousness. Mrugank is excited now. Yes. Santil, you are going to speak.
I just want to ask, so is there any connection between the invocation verse Ishopanishad and the example you are giving? Purnamadam.
Yes, there is a very close comparison. Very good point. Om Purnada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. That is a very good example. What does that show? that we are all individuals. And so many individuals come out from the Supreme Individual. He is not depleted, remains complete. He is Purnam all the time. Even though so many living entities come from him, he is still Purnam, complete. Very good. That is a very good way to understand this verse also.
So this example is invalid because although the air merges into the thing and it would make sense in a physical looking at it sort of way, but they have not, even from the beginning, not distinguished between the differences in the consciousness.
Yeah, right.
To start off with. So the analogy is wrong to start off with.
Exactly. Very good. Yeah, that's right. You get it now? Jitendra. Yes, I'll come back to you in a minute. Jitendra is... Yeah, go on.
What I was going to say right at the beginning when I put my hand down was what you said, that it's completely disanalogous. It doesn't...
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. I think it's a stupid analogy.
Yeah.
And I think it misses the point, because the point should be, why is... in that example, the air represents the Supreme, and part of that, the Supreme has become confined in this pot.
Correct.
But the question should be, why is the air in the pot to begin with? Because what they're saying is that the air within the pot represents a living entity inside a body.
Correct.
So the question should be, why is the Supreme in a material body to begin with? Why go through the suffering? Why all of that? Is that a...
And their answer is that because we are in illusion, we are in Maya.
So the question is, how can the Supreme ever be an illusion?
That's right. That's where they can't answer. They don't have answer for that. That's when they get stuck. How can Supreme come under illusion? That means illusion is higher than the Supreme. That means Maya is higher. That's why it's called Mayavad. We'll label them Mayavadis because they're saying Maya is Supreme. Whereas we are Krishnavadis. We're saying Krishna is Supreme. They are Mayavadis because they say Maya is Supreme. And that defeats the definition of absolute truth. So therefore it's not that's why that's not valid. I'm just saying what they say and what we say, At one point in one of the purports, Prabhupada says, yes, this is there, and the Mayavadis, the impersonal persons will argue forever, and it'll always go on. They'll always be two different. One time, one Mayavadi was saying that everything is one. And Prabhupada said, I differ. And that makes it two. I don't agree, and therefore it makes it two. Yeah, that's where they're all trying to explain ultimately. I heard this from Bhanu Maharaj once. He said, all of these philosophies are trying to explain the whole world, the creation, the material world, spiritual world, the origin of life, the origin of species, origin of this creation. They're trying to explain, and therefore they come with different philosophies. All of them trying to understand absolute truth. They're all trying to get there. But they all go to different levels of realization. Okay? Charishmati?
I have a question from this purport. When Prabhupada says the three Brahman conceptions, Prakriti is Brahman, field of activity, and the Jiva is also Brahman, is trying to control, and the controller of both of them is Brahman. He is the factual controller. What does it actually mean? If everyone is Brahman, then where is who is superior?
He is factually the controller, it says, no? Parabrahman. He is the Parabrahman.
But how can Prakriti be Brahman?
Yes, ultimately Prakriti also comes from Brahman. Doesn't Prakriti come from Brahman? Brahmano hi pratishtaham. So Krishna says Brahman comes from me, and from Brahman comes Prakriti. If Brahman was not there, there would be no sunlight. Where does sun get energy from? From Brahmajyoti. And the Jyoti comes from Krishna. 14th chapter, next chapter, Krishna is going to say, at the end of 14th chapter, is going to say, Brahmano hi pratishtaham. I am the base of the Brahman. So Brahman is the source for Prakriti. In that sense, Prakriti is also Brahman. Like when I was reading in the Bhakti Vaibhav class, reading first canto Bhagavatam, there is mentioned that Shirodakshai, some scholars or devotees say that Shirodakshai Vishnu, there are three Vishnus, right? Mahavishnu, Garbhodakshai Vishnu and Shirodakshai Vishnu. Now, through which Vishnu form do the avatars come when they land on earth? Through which form do they come through? Kshirodaksha Vishnu. Yet Bhagavatam says it's Garbhodaksha Vishnu. That is true because Kshirodaksha Vishnu in turn comes from Garbhodaksha Vishnu anyway. So Prakriti also likewise comes from Brahman. Yeah, it comes from Mahavishnu. And then Mahavishnu himself comes from expansion of Krishna, Ananta Shesh and Krishna, like that. Balaram then expands further into different expansions. And the Purusha avatars come like that. Krishna doesn't come through Mahavishnu. He comes in his original form. That's what Bhagavatam says. 10th canto Bhagavatam says Krishna comes in the original form. In the Bhagavad Gita also Krishna says, Sambhavami Atma Maya. It's by my own energy I come. He doesn't depend on Garbhodaksha Vishnu or Kshirodaksha Vishnu to be here. He comes on his own. And when the Bhudevi and all the Brahma, Lord Brahma, they go to the milk ocean, Kshirodaksha Vishnu, to pray for his assistance, then Lord Vishnu says, I am going to come in original form. Again confirms that. Alright, Kalamati, yes.
Hi Krishna Prabhu, in continuation of Charu Mataji's question, so which Brahman is the impersonalist they are referring to? Either nature or supreme controller or the Jiva Brahman?
This is what they're saying is Brahman is one. And Brahman is manifest as Prakriti and Jiva and all other things. Brahman Satya Jagan Mithya. That's their flagship. Brahman Satya Jagan Mithya. So all this Jagan, what you're talking about, the Jagat, Prakriti, is a manifestation of Brahman.
So they are also mentioning Bhagavan as Brahman, is it?
Yes, Bhagavan is also a manifestation of Brahman. That's what they're saying. But that's where we differ. We say, no, Brahman is a manifestation of Bhagavan. And Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavaniti, Shabdate. Three aspects of absolute truth. We accept all three aspects of absolute truth. We don't deny Brahman. The Vaishnavas accept Brahman, they accept Paramatma also, and Bhagavan, and they distinguish between them.
So, Prabhu, Maya is also Brahman.
Yes, Prakriti is Maya, no? Maya is nothing but Maya Shakti. Prakriti is nothing but Maya Shakti. So, it's energy. Paras Shakti Vividhaya Shruyate. So, the Vaishnavas recognize the Lord and his energies.
Brahman. So how are we different then?
Yeah, so we are tiny. That's what we already discussed, right? Nitya Nityanam, Chetana Chetanam. We are subordinate to him. We are dependent. He is independent. We are fallible. He is infallible. We are Anu Atma. He is Vibhu Atma. So all these points we are discussing now. More will come up when we do Paramatma discussion. But this is already the preliminary. Paramatma discussion already started. It's only the preliminary. Krishna hasn't spoken. Prabhupada can't wait till that verse comes in case you don't come for the next class. Before you go home, you should know you're not Paramatma. But you are knower of the field, but you're not Paramatma.
Just give simple knowledge example. Again, in the office environment, we know what the CEO knows, but we can't be a CEO. CEO is CEO, and is it same thing? Or?
We know something what the CEO knows, but we don't know.
Yeah, like
what dodgy stuff that goes on up there, we don't know. Probably better we don't know. Okay, we're running short of time. We should read the last paragraph. Vijay Gopi Mataji, you want to read the last paragraph?
In this chapter, it will also be explained that out of the two knowers, one is fallible and the other is infallible. One is superior and the other is subordinate. One who understands the two knowers of the field to be one and the same contradicts the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who states here very clearly, I am also the knower of the field of activity. One who misunderstands a rope to be a servant is not in knowledge. There are different kinds of bodies, and there are different owners of the bodies. Because each individual soul has its individual capacity for lording it over material nature, there are different bodies, but the Supreme also is present in them as the controller. The word Cha is significant, for it indicates the total number of bodies. That is the opinion of Srila Baladeva Vidyabhushana. Krishna is the Supreme Soul present in each and every body apart from the individual soul, and Krishna explicitly says here that real knowledge is to know that the Super Soul is the controller of both the field of activities and the finite enjoyer.
Jai. So we already discussed this in quite a bit of detail. Any last questions, comments before we finish? Srimali Prabhu.
Prabhu, we give a lot of analogies, so I'm just thinking that how do we see if those analogies from this perspective, if they are right or wrong? Just trying to, I've been thinking about this, but how do we explain that?
Yeah, the handy hint is to follow the acharyas. The analogies they have given are the safe analogies to use, because they have thought of all this. When they give an analogy, they always think of the pros and cons. They find ways to defeat an analogy and how to handle those objections. So they do a lot of objection handling when they give the analogies. So they themselves will, before they put out the analogy, they will test it out and see where are the points of failure, where it can break it. Because analogy ultimately is limited, right? It has many points of similarity, but you can't take it beyond a certain level. If you take out of context, if you take even a good analogy, can come to the wrong conclusion. Like rope and snake was mentioned by Prabhupada here. Now, according to the Mayavadis, they say that if you mistake a rope for a snake, that's what you're doing right now. You're mistaking yourself for a Prakriti, but actually you are Purusha, you are Bhagavan. But the Vaishnava understanding is not like that. They're saying, no, rope and snake analogy is there because you're an illusion, you're mistaking a rope for a snake. That is true. But at the same time, a real snake does exist somewhere. When you switch on the light, you see, oh, that's a rope. You realize that's a rope, but that doesn't mean a snake doesn't exist. The Mayavadis say the snake doesn't exist. But the Vaishnava is saying a real snake does exist somewhere else. That's why you mistook this for a snake. Otherwise, you would not have thought of snake in the first place if there is no such thing as a snake. That's how the Vaishnavas defeat that Mayavad philosophy and say that it's limited. Yes, the ignorance part is common. We agree up to the point that ignorance is there, so you can't distinguish one from another. That's a fact. But you switch on the light and say it's a rope, that's also okay. I agree to that. But that doesn't make the snake false. So that's the distinction. Is that alright? Good? Yes, Ruchika. It is the last one, yes.
Prabhu, the question that Arjuna has asked at the beginning of this chapter, that is, he wishes to know about Prakriti, Purusha, and the field, and the knowledge of the field, and of the knowledge, and the object of knowledge. Is it in any way related to the way the last chapter ended? The last chapter ended saying that, Bhakti is supreme and one who
has these qualities.
One who has these qualities is very dear to me.
Dear to me, yeah.
So is it in any way this question that Arjuna has asked here? How does it spring from how does it spring from the way the last chapter has ended? That's what I've not understood.
Yeah, I think we had read about that. We had discussed that in the very beginning, that there is a distinct link between the. Who remembers that? We discussed at the beginning of today's lesson. Yeah. Jnana is the byproduct of bhakti. That's one relationship. Yes. In the middle. Yes. Amal Prabhu made that point here. But her question is more specific, talking about the link between the two. So these are links also. These are not links. They are valid links. But this one specifically talks about how the jiva gets trapped in the material world. If bhakti is the topmost, okay, why aren't we getting there straight away? What stops us from getting to bhakti? And that is because we identify with matter. How we get caught up in matter, that is explained in 13th chapter. That's the 13th chapter talks about Prakriti, Purusha and Jiva. all these are described. And knowledge and object of knowledge. 6 topics. That's why Arjuna begins with 6 questions. To clarify how our entanglement in the material world has happened. How did we get here in the first place? So through Gyan you do the analysis. Is that okay? Any other points, questions? Yes?
It's not even related.
Okay, really quick then, because we've only got 2 minutes.
Can you just please explain the first verse of Samsara Dava? Because it's got related knowledge, that's why.
Samsara Dava, that verse talks about the spiritual master, how he comes as a mercy cloud. We are suffering in the material world like a forest fire, and the spiritual master brings the cloud bank of rain, which extinguishes the forest fire. So spiritual master comes to save us from material existence. Okay? Good. Mataji is there with the book? Yes. So we'll end the Bhagavad Gita here, and Mataji will read one verse about the holy name.
Hare Krishna, reading from the Jewels of Nectar by Kadamba Kannan Swami. Who is ready? Practically no one. But they will hear the holy name, whether they want to or not. And one day they will chant with higher taste. Yes, I believe in the truth of these words. I will not give up chanting, even though I have very little taste. Life after life, we have engrossed ourselves in sinful relationship with matter. As a result, we have succumbed into the ocean of nescience. Now the mercy of Mahaprabhu has entered into my life. I am chanting, I am dancing, I am relishing. But I am still a sinful man. My only hope is that the holy name will deliver me, and where I fall short, I pray for the mercy of my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada and Lord Gauranga. Hare Krishna.
Hari Bol. His Holiness Kadamkan Maharaj ki Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Harinam Prabhu ki Jai. Gaur Premanandi.